Right now, as you are watching this, your browser might already be spying on you. Not through a virus. Not through a hack. Through something you installed yourself. Open a new tab. Type Chrome extensions. Look at that list. That small icon sitting quietly next to your address bar? It has been watching you for years. And you never suspected a thing. For years, cybersecurity training focused on one simple idea: hackers trick people. Phishing emails. Fake websites. Social engineering. Credential theft. And yes, those threats still exist. But modern attackers have evolved. Today's most dangerous cyber operations don't just rely on deception. They rely on something far more powerful: trust. Trust in official platforms. Trust in software updates. Trust in the tools we use every day. And that's exactly how millions of people became targets, without ever being attacked in the traditional sense. Nowhere is this more dangerous than inside the one tool we all use every single day: the browser. For years, we were told a rule that felt unbreakable: if it's from the official browser store, it's safe. Chrome, Firefox, Edge, Opera. Millions of people trusted that rule. For more than 7 years, that trust was quietly turned into a weapon. Because one of the most dangerous surveillance operations ever uncovered didn't use zero-day exploits, didn't compromise operating systems, and didn't need a single phishing email. It lived inside browser extensions. This is DarkSpectre, a malware operation that compromised at least 8.8 million users worldwide and created a blueprint for the future of browser-based espionage. Welcome back to the channel. This is Cyber Vault, and I'm Sridhar. Today, we are going deep into DarkSpectre: how it was built, how it operated, who was behind it, and most importantly, what you need to check on your device right now. DarkSpectre didn't break systems. It broke assumptions. Chapter 1: DarkSpectre was not an attack. It was an ecosystem. When most people hear the word cyber attack, they imagine something dramatic: one malicious file, one breach, one system going down. DarkSpectre was nothing like that. It wasn't one malicious extension. It wasn't even one campaign. DarkSpectre was an ecosystem, a long-running, carefully maintained network of browser extensions designed to operate quietly across millions of devices for years. Security researchers eventually identified over 100 malicious or weaponizable extensions spread across Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Opera. Not one store, all of them. And these extensions weren't all doing the same thing. They were organized into 3 separate clusters, each with a specific job. ShadyPanda, the largest cluster, focused on mass surveillance and quietly making money off users. GhostPoster, specialized in hiding malicious code so well that even security scanners couldn't find it. The Zoom Stealer, the most dangerous of the 3, was built to steal corporate intelligence from business meetings. All 3 clusters shared the same backend infrastructure, similar code patterns, and the same command and control servers. This wasn't 3 separate operations, it was one highly coordinated machine. This wasn't random malware. This wasn't smash and grab cybercrime. This was persistent, long-term intelligence collection, designed to watch, learn, and wait. DarkSpectre didn't rush. It planned. Chapter 2: Sleeper Extensions, the long game. The most dangerous thing about DarkSpectre wasn't its technical sophistication. It was patience. Most malware moves fast, steal data, make money, disappear before anyone notices. DarkSpectre did the exact opposite. Researchers found at least 85 sleeper extensions, fully functional, completely legitimate-looking add-ons that behaved perfectly for years. Some stayed dormant for 5 to 7 years before activating. Let that sink in for a moment. An extension you installed back in 2018, a translation tool, a new tab dashboard, a productivity widget, could have been quietly building a reputation, collecting 5-star reviews, appearing in featured sections, and growing to millions of installs. All while waiting. Then one day, the attackers pushed a silent update. No reinstallation. No notification. No change in how the extension looked or felt. But with that one update, a useful productivity tool became a surveillance implant. This worked because browser stores follow a model that was never built for this kind of attack: review once, update forever. The initial submission gets scrutinized. Every update after that, minimal checks. India has over 750 million internet users, most on Chrome. Extension install rates in Indian IT offices are extremely high. Productivity tools, translation widgets, meeting helpers. All of them go through this same update model. Any one of them could flip overnight. The most dangerous malware doesn't rush you. It waits until you completely trust it. Chapter 3: ShadyPanda, Surveillance at Internet Scale. ShadyPanda was the biggest campaign in the DarkSpectre operation, and in many ways, the most surprising, not because of how technically advanced it was, but because of how ordinary it looked. At least 5.6 million users were affected across Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Opera through more than 100 different extensions. New tab dashboards, translation tools, weather widgets, currency converters. Exactly the kind of extensions people install without a second thought. But here's what was actually happening in the background. Search results were being hijacked. Users thought they were seeing organic results, but links were quietly redirected for affiliate revenue. Ads were being injected into websites. Every search query, every website visited, every link clicked was being tracked and sent to attacker-controlled servers in real time. Researchers connected multiple extensions through shared domains, infinitytab.com and jt2x.com, proving they were all part of one coordinated operation. Here's one number that really stays with you. One fake Google Translate extension on the Opera store alone reached nearly 1 million installs. One extension. One store. 1 million people silently monitored. Think about what Indians search for every day: banking portals, government services, business documents, medical information. Every one of those searches on a compromised extension was being quietly logged and sent to a server the user knew nothing about. ShadyPanda proved a simple but uncomfortable truth: you don't need to hack people to surveil them. You just need them to trust you. When surveillance looks useful, nobody questions it. Chapter 4: GhostPoster and the Zoom Stealer, from stealth to espionage. If ShadyPanda showed us the scale of DarkSpectre, GhostPoster and the Zoom Stealer showed us its depth. GhostPoster, hiding code inside images. GhostPoster used a technique that genuinely surprised security researchers, not because it was theoretically new, but because no one had seen it deployed at this scale against real users. Most malware hides in JavaScript files, and security scanners know to look there. GhostPoster did something different. It hid its malicious instructions inside ordinary PNG image files. Think about that. Every extension has image files, icons, logos, graphics. Nobody suspects an image. Here's how it worked in simple terms: the extension would install cleanly and look completely normal. But its image files had hidden instructions embedded inside them using a technique called steganography, essentially hiding data inside a picture. When the time came to activate, the extension quietly opened its own image, extracted the hidden code, and ran it directly inside the browser's memory. No suspicious downloads. No files saved to your computer. Nothing for a security tool to find. On top of that, the hidden code was encrypted, and activation was deliberately randomized, sometimes only triggering on 10% of page loads, so automated security tests would never catch consistent suspicious behavior. To every scanner, it was just an image file. In reality, it was a backdoor. GhostPoster didn't break into the system. It became invisible inside it. The Zoom Stealer, corporate intelligence at scale. The Zoom Stealer is where DarkSpectre reveals its true purpose. Using 18 extensions disguised as Zoom helpers, Google Meet utilities, and meeting autojoin tools, this campaign infected 2.2 million users, and it wasn't just collecting random data. It was collecting meeting intelligence. Once installed, these extensions captured meeting URLs and their embedded passwords, participant lists, speaker roles, company branding from meeting backgrounds and schedules. And it wasn't limited to Zoom, it worked across 28 different collaboration platforms including Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, and WebEx. The data wasn't stored and uploaded in batches. It was streamed live using modern cloud tools, WebSockets for real-time transfer, Firebase for storage, and Google Cloud Functions for processing. Researchers summed it up clearly: this wasn't malware. It was corporate intelligence infrastructure. Think about one day at an Infosys project team, a Wipro delivery center, or a Bengaluru startup. Dozens of Zoom calls, client proposals, budget reviews, HR discussions, vendor negotiations. Every one of those conversations, on a compromised extension, was a live feed to an attacker's server. GhostPoster hid the tools. The Zoom Stealer chose the targets. Together, they didn't just spy, they weaponized trust at a corporate level. Chapter 5: What happens after they have your meeting data? Let me walk you through what an attacker can actually do with just 7 days of your organization's meeting data. Day 1, they have your meeting schedule and recurring links. That alone is enough to silently join calls using tools that hide extra participants. Day 3, they've mapped your organizational hierarchy. They know who the decision makers are, who reports to whom, and who carries real influence. Day 7, they have what researchers call a corporate intelligence graph. A complete picture of your organization, who talks to who, when decisions get made, and what your strategic priorities are. Now the real attacks begin. Business email compromise becomes easy. If an attacker knows your CFO has a procurement meeting every Tuesday at 3 p.m., they can send a convincing fake email at 2:50 p.m. requesting an urgent payment. The timing is right. The context is right. The email gets through. Executive impersonation becomes precise because attackers have actually heard how your leaders speak, what phrases they use, and how they communicate. Insider trading becomes possible because discussions about product launches, financial results, or acquisitions happening inside those meetings is insider information. Supply chain attacks become targeted. Rather than attacking your well-defended company directly, attackers find the smaller vendor or contractor with weaker security who regularly meets with you and hit them instead. Indian startups are especially vulnerable here. A Series B company in Bengaluru or Hyderabad typically has far less security than a large enterprise, but it meets regularly with enterprise clients, investors, and government bodies, making it the perfect entry point for a larger attack. The most alarming part, there are no alerts, no system crashes, no ransom notes. The breach is completely silent. Consequences can surface months or even years later. DarkSpectre doesn't just steal data. It steals the playbook of your entire organization. Chapter 6 Attribution, Fingerprints that point to a nation. Attribution in cybersecurity is never black and white. But DarkSpectre left unusually clear fingerprints. Infrastructure, a large portion of the backend ran on Alibaba Cloud. Domain registration, multiple command and control domains had Chinese ICP registrations. ICP registration is a legal requirement for websites operating inside China. You can't get one accidentally, it's a deliberate administrative process. Code artifacts, analysts found Chinese language remnants inside the malicious code, variable names, debug notes, and comments written in Chinese. Operational timing, the infrastructure's activity patterns aligned consistently with Chinese business hours. Not occasionally. Consistently. For 7 years. The targeting also tells a story. This operation wasn't after your bank account or looking to hold data for ransom. It was after corporate intelligence, meeting data, organizational structures, strategic information. That's not what criminals want. That's what intelligence agencies want. India and China have been in a state of heightened cyber tension since the 2020 Galwan Valley standoff. India's CERT-In has flagged multiple China-linked operations targeting Indian government, defense, and IT sectors. DarkSpectre fits directly into that documented pattern. 7 years of disciplined, patient operation is not how criminal groups behave. It's how intelligence operations work. When cybercrime starts thinking like a nation, the rules change, and DarkSpectre shows us exactly how far those rules have already shifted. Chapter 7 Why the Browser Stores Failed. One of the most important questions DarkSpectre raises isn't about the attackers. It's about the platforms that were supposed to catch them. Chrome Web Store, Firefox add-ons, Microsoft Edge add-ons, Opera add-ons. All of them missed this for years. Why? Because they were built on one flawed assumption: review the extension once at submission, and it's safe forever. Here's where that model broke down. Updates got minimal scrutiny. After an extension is approved, updates flow through with little re-review. Nobody expected attackers to wait months or years before activating malicious behavior, so nobody built checks for that. Steganography was invisible to scanners. Security tools scan JavaScript and executable files. Nobody was scanning image files for hidden code. GhostPoster exploited that blind spot completely. Dangerous permissions had become normal. Over years of extension store growth, requesting full access to all browsing data became routine. Users clicked allow without reading. Stores stopped flagging it as unusual because it wasn't unusual anymore. Automated tests were too short. Security sandboxes test an extension for a limited time period. An extension that waits 6 months to activate will pass every automated test with no issues. The greatest attack of all. Trust weaponized inside the very systems we are told are safe. Chapter 8 How Researchers Finally Detected It. Catching DarkSpectre wasn't simple. Standard antivirus and automated scanning weren't enough. Researchers had to combine multiple specialized techniques, and it still took years. Static code analysis, manually reviewing every line of code looking for hidden logic that would only trigger under specific conditions. Behavioral monitoring, running extensions in controlled environments over weeks, not hours, watching for any behavior that changed over time. Update tracking, comparing every version of every extension to spot changes. A sleeper extension that turned malicious after 5 clean years would show up clearly in this kind of analysis. Network monitoring, watching for small, regular check-in signals that dormant extensions were sending back to attacker servers. These subtle signals helped researchers map the entire infrastructure. For GhostPoster specifically, researchers needed specialized steganography tools PNG-check, ZSTG, and Alethea that most security teams have never even heard of, let alone use. Eventually, machine learning models were trained specifically on DarkSpectre's patterns to identify more extensions in the network. The bottom line, this isn't something standard antivirus software catches. It required a combination of time, specialized expertise, and tools that go well beyond what most organizations have. DarkSpectre doesn't knock on the door. It lives inside quietly, and only the sharpest defenders can find it. Chapter 9: What you must do right now. DarkSpectre didn't succeed because people were careless. It succeeded because trust went unaudited. So let's fix that, starting with you, right now. For individual users, open your browser and navigate to your extensions page. Chrome extensions. Edge extensions. Firefox about addons. Go through every single extension and ask yourself 3 questions. 1. Do I remember installing this? If you don't, disable it right now. 2. Do I actually use this? If you haven't used it in the past month, remove it. An unused extension is just risk with no benefit. 3. What permissions does it have? If it has access to all websites, your browsing history, or the ability to read and change data on every page you visit, look into it carefully before keeping it. Pay extra attention to anything that claims to be a Zoom helper, a Google Meet tool, a translation assistant, or a new tab dashboard. These were the exact categories DarkSpectre exploited. If you work in Indian IT, banking, fintech, or any company that uses Zoom or Teams for client meetings, run this audit today. Then share it with your team. The threat isn't theoretical. It's active. Office building for organizations and enterprises. Enforce extension allow listing. Only pre-approved extensions should be permitted on company devices. This one policy removes most of the risk. Monitor for unusual network activity. Browser extensions making periodic calls to external domains is detectable, but only if you are actively looking for it. Tighten meeting security defaults. Meeting links with embedded passwords should never be shared casually. Always use waiting rooms and participant verification. Train your employees on browser extension risk. After DarkSpectre, the belief that if it's on the official store, it's safe is simply not defensible anymore. India Certain has issued advisories on browser-based threats. Indian organizations, especially those handling international client data in the IT services sector, should treat browser extension security as a compliance issue, not just an IT hygiene checkbox. In a world where your browser is a battlefield, vigilance is your only shield, and you can't defend against what you've never been told to watch. Closing, the real warning. DarkSpectre is not a closed chapter. Some of those 85 sleeper extensions are still out there, still clean, still building trust, still waiting. The infrastructure has been partially dismantled. The research is public. But the blueprint exists now, and it will be used again. This operation ran for 7 years before anyone caught it. We don't know what the next version looks like. We don't know which extensions, installed on millions of devices right now, are still in their dormant phase. What we do know is this. Your browser is no longer just a window to the internet. It is an intelligence collection surface. Every extension you have installed is a trust decision you made once, often years ago, and probably never looked at again. The most dangerous attacks today don't break down your front door. They walk in quietly through the side, dressed as something helpful. For Indian users and organizations, the stakes are especially high. We are in the middle of a massive digital transformation, UPI, ONDC, Digital India. And at the same time, we are operating in one of the most active cyber threat environments in the world. Browser security is not a niche concern. It is a national security concern. So run the audit. Remove what you don't need. Question what you have. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. This is Cyber Vault. I'm Sridhar. The attack you don't see is the one that hurts the most. And DarkSpectre is living proof of that. Subscribe because the next threat we cover is already inside systems near you.